Okay, some of this stuff, everybody can, I'm not muted, right?
No.
Okay, make sure. All right, so some of this, some of the stuff Lori talked about with the emergency plans actually kind of flows over into preparing to leave office. So some of the stuff, like getting some of the information together will actually kind of correlate with this as well. But we kind of thought, think about it. Do you remember when you first came into office as a treasurer for the first time? Especially if you didn't actually work in that office prior to becoming the treasurer. It can be overwhelming, daunting. As a treasurer, you are responsible for a lot. So we're kind of asking you during this, just kind of think back upon that time. Ask yourself, what would have been helpful to me back then? That's kind of where we wanted to start. Originally, Lori and I had thought this would be a great panel discussion. And so before we went to the virtual world and we were going to do these in-person meetings, we thought we could grab, a couple of you guys at different, someone who's kind of on the way out, this is their last term, maybe someone's brand new, a couple in the middle, and just have a discussion about what you found difficult, what would have made life easier. Obviously, this format makes that a little bit more difficult. So, with COVID-19 and making it virtual, we still think this is an important topic. We just decided we'll put some general information here. This is by all means not comprehensive in any way, shape, or form. It's just to kind of give you thoughts as moving forward. My page is stuck. Okay. Do you not see it?
It's not moving?
It's not moving. Oh,
there
not
it is.
good.
It's really slow.
That's very odd.
I'm sorry, I was checking you off.
No, that's okay. All right. So transitioning out of office isn't always easy, especially if you've been elected to a new office, too, because not only are you leaving the office to somebody, you're learning a new office. So for those in that transition, I get it. That's kind of a hard transition sometimes. But, we want to help guide that person that's coming in. So really, I've only been in this position for a year and a half now, maybe. I've worked with a lot of you. And I'm going to be honest, you guys have a lot of high standards in your office. I've never talked to one of you that said, I don't really care if it's done right. You guys are always, you want to do it right. It's always, let's do it correctly. Let's, how do we do this? How do we move forward? So, you have either established those or you've inherited them and then embellished upon them to make those standards what they are in your office. So while your term comes to an end, your office has to continue on. And so we want those standards to continue on with them and to grow. And, you're always looking to what's the next step. So by continuing on, the county must still function. So we want you, again, to remember back to your first day in office, again, especially if you've never worked in the treasurer's office before. Before taking office, you probably have a lot to learn. Honestly, I could see it being very, very overwhelming. Is there anything that you could provide to your successor to help ensure that the transition into the office goes as smoothly as possible? All right? So if you're able to work with them and help them, if possible, again, sometimes it's not possible, but if at all possible, during the last couple months that you're in office, it does help to make that transition better. Encouraging them to attend training, like the newly elected training, is a good way for them to get started as well. And remember, you were elected to office by the citizens of the county, and leaving the office as you have served provides a great service to those citizens. So in the following slides, we've provided some considerations that might assist you in making this transition. I don't know if it's flipping on there. I'm assuming, okay.
It's just taking stuff, I don't know why.
All right. So your records and your office. You are physically turning over the office and the records contained in that office to your successor. Okay, so having someone familiar with where records are located, or having storage closets, binders, shelves labeled is another way of easing your successor into where records are located. These are obviously just suggestions, but being able to locate items when first coming into the office does help you gain your bearings and where things are and what needs to be done. So not only are the records important, but any physical security to the office needs to be transferred as well. So if you've got keys to your office itself, keys to any additional rooms that belongs to your office, keys to maybe storage such as a safe or a locked cabinet of some sort, these things all need to be turned over as well. If there's any additional security measures for the office or the building, such as alarms, they need to be provided those as well, okay? Just have to pause to make sure it's okay. Okay, so cash funds. You've got your cash drawers up there. So the statute requires any cash change funds to be returned to the county fund whenever the custodian of the cash change fund changes. Wow, that's a tongue twister. So your successor would then have to file a claim against that fund to get the cash change funds reestablished in their custody. If you choose to transfer custody of the change fund to your successor, you should get an acknowledgement of the amount of cash and any undeposited collections being held in the office by the new treasurer. In my notes. Do the slides say it too? Yes. I tried to change it. I'm sorry. Let's just ignore that. Yes, we did use some other slides. So it is different though. So there's an example of the cash count form that can be used. If you guys are interested in that, let us know. If you do not turn your cash change funds back into the county, you need to document that transfer and custody of funds, okay? Really, this is all for your protection. You want to say, this is how much cash I have, here's my cash change, here's how much cash I have in hand, have that reconciled, when you give that over so that nothing can come back and say, well, we were $50 short, okay? You know what you gave over to your successor, all right?
Several people are talking about the sound again, but I don't know if there's anything we can do from our end.
Okay, hold on one sec. It was great, but it's cutting out bad. Cutting out some. How many? We've got quite a few.
Quite a few, ever since the video. I don't know why.
Okay, hold on one second. I don't know that it's going to do anything, but let me. What if hey, participants.
Well, two people said they can hear fine.
I'm curious if I mute.
Somebody suggested going out and rejoining the meeting has helped the sound. So if you want to do that real quick,
Okay.
just leave the meeting and then rejoin it immediately.
Stop that.
Somebody heard it.
Okay. Sorry, I thought maybe if I could unmute my computer and mute that, but I can't turn the sound down off on our monitor that's in front of us. I can hear fine. So again, try to leave, go out, come back in, and again, if you miss something, We're going to record it. Hopefully it's picking up my sound correctly.
Yeah.
Beam them up, Scotty. Okay.
She does not get Star Trek references. I'm sorry. Try something else.
I know what that is. Isn't that like the live long and prosper thing?
No.
No. What is that? What's that thing?
That's Spock.
Yeah, I know.
The Vulcan greeting. That has nothing to do with Scotty and beaming you up on the transporter.
But isn't it like live long and prosper?
It is.
Okay. I know little.
Oh, okay.
All right. Sorry. Pre-1985. Okay. Let's get back. Let me close these windows here. All right. I will say a couple people did say they came out, they left and came back in, and it's been working fine. So let's try that. I apologize. Okay, so we talked about the cash change. So now let's talk about capital assets and equipment that you have within your office. Okay, so in the same manner, you're going to transfer any equipment and assets of any material value. You know, probably not talking about your pencils or your, staples and those kinds of things, but things like servers, any hardware such as a desktop or a laptop computer, if you have scanners, things like that. There should be an updated inventory of capital assets and other equipment within your office. This inventory should consist of, it should be really kind of detailed, and a description of what you have, how many. So if you've got 3 laptops, we should know there's 3 laptops. A location, so if you've got more than just one room, I know that some people have storage, that maybe is on a different floor someplace or in the basement, or you've got stuff down there. Having that location on that inventory list is extremely helpful, okay? So you need to have all of that. And again, you're transferring custody of those assets to your successor. So you're going to want some sort of documentation that is acknowledging the transfer of the assets to the new treasurer. Sorry. I moved quickly. Okay. So it is the responsibility of the new treasurer to get their signature or record with the bank, okay? But you want your signature to stop being used, all right? So it's no longer going to be the authorized signature, so we've got to get rid of it there. And any, if you have any, signature stamps or anything like that, you're going to need to secure those as well. You don't want to just leave, your signature stamps willy-nilly all over the place, okay? So make sure you get control of those. However, you do need to make sure that your successor has information on any and all bank accounts. This includes any investments as well that are held by the county. So your successor should be aware of where all county cash is being held. Okay? You have a question?
It's totally unrelated to what you're doing, so keep going.
Oh, okay. I am assuming that you're reconciling monthly, but make sure that your reconciliations are complete as far as you can for the end of the year. If you can complete your bank rec through the end of the month, that would really be best. So if you could at least get it through November, you're responsible for that bank account until the end of your term in office, okay? And you want documentation that everything was reconciled and accounted for before you hand over. So again, make sure that your successor is aware of the location of all bank reconciliations and supporting documents. Also remember that while you're leaving office, that was still your term. So when we come in to do the audit of that year, it is still under you. So when we're auditing, we're still auditing you, whether you're still the elected official in the current year or not. It is still your responsibility, okay? All right, user IDs and passwords. I'm going to be honest, this one can be kind of daunting. I know at home, my husband doesn't really. I do all of the financial stuff in our house. he just wants to know that he has money and he can go spend it. He doesn't really want anything else. But I think if something were to happen to me, I don't know that he would have access to all these different things, these bill pays that I make online, these banking accounts. And so I have created a list in my head, not in my head, but actually on paper. I have one on paper. But I always constantly am thinking, does he have access to that? Will he know where this is at? And I probably told him 5,000 times, that list is here. Now, if something happens to me tomorrow, he is not going to remember that that list is there, but that's my husband.
Give him a contact person.
I should. Please contact Lori Rogers. She knows where all our passwords are. But when you think about it, that is the world we live in. Everything is technology driven anymore. And so everything needs to be safe and secure. When you're talking about that cybersecurity, there are all these user IDs and passwords, and hopefully it's not the same user ID and the same password for everything that you use. Okay? So while these have become increasingly important, we really need to leave the contact information, like for your IT department, or whomever has administrative rights for your software. So user ID and password can be established for the new person wherever it might be needed. Does your county's website require access? Is there anything that you put on your website? If so, then information on how to contact your website administrator. Sometimes that's your IT people, sometimes it's not. So make sure that you know who they need to be in contact to be able to access those things. Email accounts need to be set up. Okay, so leave that information. If you have a generic, I'm going to call it generic email because it's not your name at Perfect County, it's treasurer@Perfect County. Then you need to make sure that those username and password get changed for your successor so that you would no longer have access to that account, okay? So those credentials are extremely important. Any other financial software used will need new credentials for the successor. Having this information, again, makes that transition a lot easier. Online banking should be changed to the successor so the successor has access. This can normally be done when you're changing out like your signature and when you guys are changing everything over, you can normally change the access as well. Gateway is important as well. So leaving information on gaining access to Gateway, and not only gaining access, but if you have any information for them, like to delegate somebody to have editing access to that or editing rights, is important because while you may have delegated somebody to do something, when the successor comes in, it's going to be their responsibility to decide what those delegations need to be. And so if they need to make changes, they need the information to be able to do that so that the uploads are completed and so that they're able to make that change. If there's any other access points that need user IDs and passwords, make sure that your successor is aware of those. What I do want to emphasize is you really don't want to give them your credentials, okay? They're not going to access them on your credentials. It really needs to be a new set that is set up, okay? That not only protects you, but it also protects them, okay? When I say okay, I expect them to be like, okay.
They're thinking it.
They're thinking it? All right. How much time do I got? Good.
You've got plenty of time. Mine's going to be short.
Good. Okay. So internal controls, Lori kind of talked about this a little bit in the
shocking, really, that I did.
In the emergency plan. You know, we try and bring it up just a little bit every time we meet with you guys and how important internal controls are. I'm not going to lie, we would love if you all had written internal controls. It's nice to just kind of see it all out there and be able to navigate it and change it, and then when our field comes in, you can just hand it. Here's our handy dandy internal controls. So we hope that you do, but these need to be given to and provided to your successor. You know, if you've been working on any kind of corrective action plan, kind of like we talked yesterday, You really need to provide that information to your successor so that, especially if that corrective action plan is going to go into the next year. They need to know what's happening, what your plan was to fix it, and so if it's already kind of started, they can follow up with it, okay? Job descriptions for employees in the office. This would be extremely helpful, especially if you have multiple people in your office, but even if you just have, one or two people in your office as well. It doesn't mean that that's how it's going to stay when the successor comes in, but it does give them a starting point of understanding how your office works. What does, Betty Sue's job do, and, what is Tammy Sue's job? I don't know, Sue is the middle name. What are they responsible for? So if you have any of those kinds of things, that's really a good starting point when you're coming into office. All right. Okay, so it's catching up to me. Okay. So when you came into office, if you were brand new and you're like, I have all these questions, where do I find information? In fact, we have received phone calls of, where do I get information from? So if you could think about things like that, what were good resources for you? We threw some together here. Obviously, the Indiana Treasurers Association. That is a great resource for any new successor coming in, or just anybody. So this would leave, if you could leave like the website and contact information. This lets them let the transition go a little bit more smoothly, and it helps them to kind of network in with other treasurers and maybe find somebody that maybe uses the same software that they do, or have other commonalities that they can work together on and get questions answered. So AIC is another great resource, obviously. So if you could leave the website and contact information for that, they could. AIC is just a wealth of knowledge. There's trainings provided. They help you get more involved. Just, again, a wealth of information is there. Indiana Code. So, we all hear statutes all the time. Statutes, 511, 127. Only because I was talking about it yesterday, that stuck right there. So if you hear that, as a treasurer, you hear this code, and you think, that it's a statute, you need to go look, but if it was just readily available for you just to open it, type in that, so that you could read that statute for yourself, that would be extremely helpful too. The Indiana Archives and Record Management. Record retention is always a big question, whether you're new in office, you've been there for a little while, or you're an outgoing. This is just a common question. So any contact information or any documentation that you have obtained over any of this will help them have a better understanding. And then I put Department of Local Government Finance on here as well. So any websites and contact information here can always come in handy as well. Too many pages. Keep pushing it down. Okay. I didn't forget us, State Board of Accounts. We just have a slide just for us. So, yay, State Board of Accounts. Yeah. We are a great resource. So our contact information would be extremely helpful as well. Maybe even give our names. Lori, Ricky, call them. They'll help you. If you could leave the location of the treasurer's page, that's on our website, where they can find the manuals, they can find the bulletins, directives, hot topics that we like to consider hot topics. All kinds of information is on that website to really help them navigate. And again, along with our email address, which is on the slide at the counties@sboa.in.gov. We'd like to slide that in there a little bit, along with our phone number. Okay, so they can call and ask questions, and I'm sure you guys have called and we said, we don't, or that's not us, but we'll get you to where you need to go. Okay. While we try to keep all the changes, while we try to keep up with all the changes to each office with every election, it is almost impossible to get everybody. There are 92 counties with multiple elected officials from each county. And we try, but we are bound to miss someone, okay? And so one of my favorite things, and I meant to grab it before I walked in here and I forgot, it's actually not mine because mine's at home, but is the directory. The directory for treasurers. We've got one for auditors, clerks, recorders. They are my favorite. I look in them almost every single day for contact information. They're just really great. And so actually they were the first things I grabbed off my desk when we started working remote. I thought, oh, I need these. These are a must. I have to have these. And so I use those so that if we find out, hey, you've left and somebody's been caucused in your place, then we go into those directories and try to update them there so that we can get them to the people here and get the directories and distribution lists updated, all right? But it really is kind of difficult for us to keep track of everybody. So if this has happened, I'm not saying as you leaving, but if you were like maybe even caucused in, or maybe leave them a note, hey, you need to let them know that you've taken office. That helps us just keep accurate records. Sometimes we'll get, hey, I did, especially this, I'm sending out invites for this conference, and hey, I didn't get I never got the invite, and then I go to look, and I have the wrong email address for you. And so sometimes it was me, sometimes I put, it was like -Indiana and not .Indiana, and so I read that wrong. Other times I just really have the wrong email address. So the more communication you have with us with any of those changes, that helps get that accurately in our system. So gateway is another thing we kind of talked about a little bit back there, but leaving that website address and the help desk email that we've placed up here are really important. So, the website obviously is where you're going to go when you want to upload your monthly documents, but the help desk is where you want to go get technical help. So, if your successor comes in, they are going to need a new username and password. Help desk is where they need to go. If they have a question about something that they're uploading, you can contact Lori and I. We'll be more than happy to talk to you about that. I cannot reset your password. I can't give you a new one. I don't have that capability, nor do I even know how. So if you can provide that kind of information, that would be great as well. Okay, I did good. You're good. All right, again, I don't know if there's any questions that came in.
They're running a series of questions on retention schedules. I think some of the counties have put some of the information together, calling them cheat sheets that have that information. The only thing I'd say, we did have a question yesterday about the 47 TR. I looked, and it's not on the retention schedule. I looked at all of them. So I have two things to say. The first thing for State Board of Accounts, you need to keep all of your public documents until an audit has been completed, and then 3 years, yes, or an audit has been completed. I tell some of the other offices, you're always going to be audited because you're an integral part of the financial statements. But even if you don't know whether your office was audited during an audit or not, if the audit for the county has been completed, that's your 3 years time, okay? And that's what we want you to keep. Then the Indiana Archives and Record Administration, they're going to have the retention schedule for public documents as a whole. You really can't, you just need to remember, you can't destroy anything until they give you permission to do so, or your local Commission on Records has given you permission to do so. So if you have something that you think you need to get rid of because you can get more room, contact, and it's not on that list, the first thing to do is contact the your local record commission, and then also the Indiana. There's a form on their website you can fill out saying, this is what I want to get rid of, what I want to destroy, and send it to them, and they can make a determination whether or not whether you need to keep that or not. So sharing it among yourself is fine. I'm just saying the ultimate is to contact the Indiana Archives and Record Administration for final determination on what you can and can't destroy.